It's disabled, but can be turned on if you need that sort of view. And here we see a reference to custom log common, which is commented out. But below we see one that isn't, custom log with combine turned on, which means the refer and user agent variables are made available. So this access log file is the default log file for the default server. Let's just note that. Default log file for default server, and optionally all hosts if you don't indicate a log file, which means other virtual hosts. The server signature feature is turned on, which will include the server version, especially on index-driven pages that look like FTP, or on pages that return errors. An alias is defined whenever the IP address or name of the server's reference /icons, Apache really calls var www icons. So this is a way of mapping web space to a different file system space, a space that's outside of the document root, similar to a virtual directory in Microsoft IIS. And for each reference directory, especially those that are outside of the document root that are covered by other directory directives, we should have a directory directive. So for var www icons, here are the rules. Indexing in multiple views are permitted. No htaccess or any sort of override file can be used, and everyone can interact with content served from var www icons, which is another thing for us to test. Here's a block from moddav. Apache supports webdav, and if it's enabled, then that feature set is there. Script alias. Apache can serve CGIs or Common Gateway Interface scripts such as Perl, Python, and so on. It does so by default for the default server via /CGI-bin, which is really an alias to var www CGI-bin. So for every non-document root or directory not covered by a directory block, we need a directory block. We should note that. Every directory outside of the document root should have at least one directory directive defined. Otherwise, Apache is likely to throw an error in attempting to serve the content. And it's not that it's not able to read the content. The primary Apache process runs as root, so it can certainly read the content. But whether or not it's permitted to serve the content is based on the rules it finds in its directory directives. So for var www CGI-bin, no overrides are permitted, options none, but everyone can contact the content in this directory. And if we keep on going, we'll see additional settings. We're only at 59%. Icon support, we'll just scroll through very quickly because we'd like to get to the stage where we can start the server. Language support for multiple world languages. Priority beginning with English, followed by many other languages. Default character set, UTF-8, which covers many of the world's languages. Additional application types for compressed items, gzip, tgz, etc. Apache can handle those files easily. And here's some error documents, references for error documents, which Apache ships with a set of. /error points to var www error, which means there's a directory block. And if certain errors are experienced, then Apache has documents, although these are commented out, it has documents to throw or to present us with information. Browser matches, some commented out location directives, which is a way of referencing or rerouting web root requests. And then there's a virtual hosts section where you can populate your virtual hosts using the supported technologies with sample virtual host or a sample virtual host container defined, which we'll be looking at momentarily. So let's exit out this document as we have, and what we'd like to now do is start the server and begin exploration. So with that said, our next task is to fire up Apache. So start Apache and continue to explore. To do so, we'll execute service, and no need to memorize, although by now we should know what it is, but in etc initd, we'll find our HTTPD instance. So service HTTPD start. We'll start the server and echo the exit status, and we lost it, but would have told us that it was successful. PSEF grep I HTTPD returns the instances, and let's just copy and paste this and dump it into our notes, minus the last item, which really belongs to the grep instance that we ran. So we started it, and this is what was returned. What does this all mean? Well, if you recall from the main Apache configuration file, we saw that Apache starts with the following 8 instances, with the primary instance starting as root, and all of the other instances referencing the PID, the parent PID root, the one started as root. This parent process has access to the entire file system. However, the subsequent processes which users actually connect to run as the user Apache, and these processes can only access content that the user Apache can see. So note, parent Apache process runs as root and can see the entire file system. However, children processes run as Apache and can only see files or directories that Apache :Apache, meaning user group, can see. So keep that in mind whenever you create new document roots for new servers or new hosts, that the server is limited in that capacity, not the root instance, but the instance users communicate with, these 8 instances. So it's up and running as HTTPD. We can confirm also using netstat NTLP grep 80, as Apache is bound to port 80. It's listening to both IP version 4 and IPv6. We know because in the netstat table we see :80, or double colons to indicate all zeros in IPv6, all zeros for all 128 bits, followed by a colon and the port number. And here's the parent process ID of 31324. So Apache's up. When it gets a request in on port 80, it proxies or fields or routes the requests directly to one of the free children. And then that free child services the requests. Now let's try to access content. Now that the server is up and running, we said we wanted to start it and continue exploration. So we'll navigate to the shell and hit on 192.168.199. Now here's the default test page. We did mention that because of the welcome.conf file, if there is no default document such as index.html or index.html.var, which contains logic handling variables that are accessible to Apache, such as environmental variables, then this no index error page is served. And again, we can corroborate that by examining the contents of the confd directory, lsltr, and then cat in the contents of welcome.conf. So again, location match using the regex match. If there is no index.html, serve this particular document from error as no index.html. And if you recall, if we grep error from the conf directory httpd.conf, and we pipe it, we'll see the alias. It's in fact on our page. This tells us that the alias error really points to var www error, which means in var www non-HTML error, we will find the various error documents that pertain to the different types of errors, 404s, 403s, 300, 400, 500 errors, and noindex.html. This is the document that we were served. We can list the contents of it, and you'll see test page for the Apache HTTP server. This is in the title. Scroll down, test page for the Apache HTTP server. So this page is served var www error noindex.html when there is no index.html. Well, that leads us to the next point. Let's create an index.html file. We'll navigate to var www.html where no files currently exist. And we'll nano index.html. And the suffix is incorrect, but we'll rename it when we're finished. So HTML